students of class 7, welcome back to our English class. So today, before we go on into our class, I'm going to show you a sentence. The black book is bigger than the red book. So what is this? Yes, it's a comparison between two books. In life, we also would have often come through comparisons, a lot of comparisons, right? Anything we do, our parents or our neighbors, our relatives would have compared us with some other friend of ours or a relative of ours, right? Yes, a comparison has been a part of our life. So what do you think is important while comparing? Yes, an adjective plays the important role in making a comparison. So today we are also going to learn about the adjective degrees of comparison. When I say adjective degrees of comparison, you might think, what is a degree, right? They are nothing but the level. So there are levels of comparison. We are going to look at it in our today's class. So now we'll be able to know about the adjective degree of comparison. Then we will get to know about the types with their examples, and finally we will also be able to know about homophones with some examples. So let's get into the video. What is a degree of comparison? An adjective degree of comparison is nothing but it shows or explains the noun. So it says how big or small. Adjective helps in explaining, but the degree of comparison comes in when you compare. So when one noun is compared to another noun, the adjective degree of comparison comes in. So it is nothing but a comparison made with the help of an adjective. So when we say degree of comparison, there are 3 degrees. The first one is positive, second one is comparative, and the third one is superlative. So these are the adjective degrees of comparison. So you might be wondering, what is the difference between the 3? So now let's get into a detailed study about all the 3. So first, let's start with the positive adjective degree of comparison. So it is said to be positive adjective if it has no comparison, or if there is a comparison using as, then a word and then an as, or not so dash as. Example, first one, it's positive when there is no comparison at all. That is, John is tall. So we are talking about John and we are not comparing John to anybody else. So it is a positive adjective. Or if you say John is as tall as Jason, that is, you use as and as, right? Or you can say John is not as tall as Jason. So when you use as and as, or not so and as, you will say it as a positive adjective. So positive adjective is when there is no comparison, or when there is a comparison made using as and as. So now let's move on to comparative adjective degree of comparison. So what is a comparative degree? They are comparison between 2 or more things using the word than. So When you compare between two or more things, it's called a comparative adjective. So let's see the rules. So these are formed by adding a suffix. When it's in one syllable, you add the suffix er. But when it has two syllables ending with y, you replace it with ier. For multisyllable, you add the word more. So you see in the picture, right? When you don't compare, it's just long. But when it's comparative, you say longer. That is, the suffix er is added. Let me show you some examples. Apples are tastier than oranges. So you add the suffix ier and you use the word than because you compare apple and oranges. So here you say apples are tastier than oranges. So here tasty ends with y. So we add the suffix ier. Second, chocolate is more delicious than lemons. So here also we comparing chocolates to lemons. And here it is more than 3 syllables. So you add more. Chocolate is more delicious than lemons. When you add than, it's comparative. Finally, Zoe is taller than Joe. Here when you compare between Zoe and Joe, and tall is one syllable, so you add an er to it. So you say Zoe is taller than Joe. So first positive is when you mostly don't make a comparison. Secondly, comparative is when you make comparison between 2 or 3 nouns. Third comes the superlative degree of comparison. So let's see what is the superlative degree of comparison. When we compare 3 or more things and denote the high degree of quality, it's superlative adjective. So here you compare 3 or more than 3. So what's the rule here? When it's one syllable, you add the suffix est. And then when it's two syllable, you replace y with iest. And then when it's multi-syllable, you don't add more but you add most. So when it's one syllable, it's est, two syllable iest, and multi-syllable is most. And the other rule here is it will always be the definite article is the. So we won't use a or an because it is the high degree. We will use the as a definite article. So let's get into some examples. The flight attendant is the nicest I have ever met. So here we are trying to say that the flight attendant that we have met now is the nicest, that is the supreme one. Nicest, you see here est. Next, that was the most tiring journey I have ever had. So here you're not having syllables, so you add the word most before and you have the indefinite article the because it is the supreme, so it's the most tiring. Next comes Mary is the best student, that is she is the best one. This is also a supreme quality. And next comes, my cat is the most important thing in my life. So here also it is having a lot of syllables, as well as it cannot have a suffix, just like tiring. So here we add the word most. So as we saw, superlative is when you compare 3 or more things and you talk about the highest degree. That is the things like nicest, the last level. So you add a indefinite article, that is the, before every adjective, and you will have the suffix est or iest to the adjectives. So moving on, now we are going to learn what is a homophone. So what do you think is a homophone? Homophones are nothing but they are words that sound alike. That is, when you hear them, they will sound the same, but they are spelled differently. That is, when you write, they have different spellings, and they will also have different meanings to them. So homophones sound the same but will have different spelling and meaning. So let's see some examples. Pair and pair. That is, the first pair is the pair of socks, and the second pair you pronounce it as pear. That is the fruit you eat. Second, 1 and 1. The first one is victory. The second one is the number 1. Third, C and C. Sounds alike, right? But the first C is you seeing or watching a television. The second C is the water. That is the beach, the sea. An aunt and ant. It also sounds alike sometimes, right? Ant is an insect and aunt is our relative. Male, male. That is, the first male is our email and the second male is a boy. Likewise, you also have right and right and hair and hair. Here the first hair is the hair on your head and the second is a rabbit, kind of a rabbit. So these are homophones. When I say male, you might be wondering now which male is a ma'am talking about, right? So students, when you are given a question, read the context properly and then according to the context put in the correct word. Okay, so homophones might sound alike but they are not the same. They are different words having different meanings. So the examples are, I can see you. The same way, the sea is beautiful. My dog's tail is black. The tail is the dog's tail. The next one, this tale is interesting. Here the tale is a story. She is 8 years old. She ate a fish today. Sounds alike but they have a different meaning and a spelling too. So there we come to the end of a class. So let's have a quick recall of whatever we have learned today. So first, when we talk about the degrees of comparison, let's take the adjective tall and use it. First, I have one person here. So I will say John is tall. What kind of a sentence is this? Yes, it is a positive adjective degree of comparison because there's just one person and we say John is tall. It's positive. Second, oh, I have two persons here, John and another. So I say Jack, the other person. Jack is taller than John. So here we are using than as well as we have compared. So what is it? Yes, it is a comparative adjective because we have compared them both, and the adjective tall has added a suffix to it because it is a single syllable. We have added er, so it is a comparative. And then now, wow, we have three members, and let me say Joe is the tallest among them all. First is John, then we had Jack, and now Joe. And among them all, Joe is the tallest. So I say Joe is the tallest among them all. So what type is this? Yes, it is a superlative adjective degree of comparison because we have used the indefinite article the, and the adjective has added a suffix est to it because it is a single syllable. So when we have one person and there is no comparison, it's positive. When you have two person and there is a comparison, it is a comparative adjective. When we have three or more and we have the highest degree, we talk about the highest degree, it is called the superlative. Then we learnt about homophone, that is the words which have same sound but will have different meaning and a different spelling. So I hope you have now clear with the adjective degrees of comparison, and you know the types, that is positive, comparative and superlative. And finally, I hope you understood what are homophones. So that's all for today's class, students. Thank you. As soon as you finish watching the video, kindly fill in the Google form that is put up in the Google Classroom. Thank you, students. Meet you in the next class.